Yeah, so the title of this video probably got your attention. Yo, what's up guys, this is Magamu, and I didn't really jump to the conclusion of making this video where I'm going to talk about why I think video games suck now. It's not impulsive, right? This is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I came up with the idea of the video about 6 months ago. I never pulled the trigger on it because I felt like it was too reactionary, it was too mean, and I didn't really know the core of why I thought video games were really bad. Now, a lot of people have opinions on this, but I've got my own opinion, and I want you guys to listen out my opinion before you jump to the conclusion of what this video is about, because I really do think video games have had a downward spiral. And also I'm making this video because people have been asking, yo, Magamu, you used to cover all of these, new games back in the day, and all of a sudden, skirt, hit the brakes. We're not doing that anymore. And I'm gonna try to explain why. And the reason is, I think all video games suck. There, I said it. Okay, look, of course, all video games don't suck. Your favorite video game that you're playing right now, you're going, Magamu says League of Legends sucks. Okay, calm down. I don't think all video games suck, especially not your favorite video game that's in your mind right now. Just the general trend of where video games have gone. We're starting with a lot of PvE games. We're talking about Warframe. We're talking about Anthem. Basically, a lot of the PvE games, Outriders, a lot of the online games. I'm talking about games that people typically play for a long time, right? So I'm not really talking about the new game on PS5 or God of War or something like that. These games with a ton of acclaim. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the games that we typically expect we can play for a long time, right? We're talking about from the PvE side, we're talking about MMOs, looter shooters, that type of thing. And on the PvP side, because if you guys watch my Twitch stream, I play a lot of shooters on the PvP side. Apex Legends, Overwatch, Call of Duty. Yeah, I occasionally pick up Call of Duty. Now, the reason why I think all of these video games suck, because again, I waited until I had the through line to tell you guys why things just didn't get better. Not loot boxes. I know you guys are thinking that. Not predatory monetization, right? There's a lot of crappy EA's doing some crappy things, and there's some things about Activision, Blizzard games costing too much. I actually think games don't cost too much. Actually, games haven't really risen with inflation like they should. Microtransactions are a problem, but that's not the problem I'm going to talk about. My problem with gaming is the engagement. It's the idea that if someone's going to play a game for a long period of time, which these are the games I'm talking about. The online looter shooters, the PvP games, the shooters, the Overwatches, the Apexes, the Warframes. I think these games know that they need to retain players for a long period of time. And instead of doing it through raw, pure fun and listening to the customer, because I think these games have stopped listening to the customer. They've done it through engagement. And I have some evidence of that, but it's also a lot of feels, right? I think some of these game developers go to conferences. They have these people that come in and consult them on live service games. And I've lost all passion, because imagine you're in a marriage, right? And the marriage lasts for 40 years. You never get divorced, right? Now think about this. Just because that marriage lasted 40 years doesn't make it a good marriage. Because some people will say, yes, obviously both people stayed for 40 years. It's clearly a good marriage, when in fact, maybe that's not the case. Maybe people, stayed married for their kids. Maybe people stayed married for their religion. Maybe people stayed married because they didn't have better options. Time doesn't necessarily equal good. My problem with modern games is they have stuck the landing of saying that whatever it takes to get you to play this game for a long period of time, I'm going to do that because it's profitable. It keeps you on my game. And if you're on the game, it's a good thing. But in fact, I don't think these games are good. So let's start with the PvE side, right? One of the main things I used to always talk about is grind. We see that in Warframe. We see that in MMOs. The reason I left a lot of the PvE games is because they don't respect your time. Now, if I were to say, what do I want in a PvE game? What do I want in a World of Warcraft, a MMO, a Warframe, a Destiny? Essentially what I want is, and this is me personally, you guys can tell me in the comment section what you want. I want for the game to give me something to do where I can progress while also respecting my time, right? I want to take a character from beating mobs with a wooden stick all the way up to slaying the dragon with a flaming sword, right? It's the progression of it that keeps you hooked. Your character gets better. You get to experience the game with other people. You see the character get better. You get to tackle bigger objectives. Now, something like Warframe doesn't really do that. Something like Warframe is like a collection game. Hey, the new Prime is out. Here it is, collect it. Hey, the new gun is out, collect it. The new skin is out, collect it. Trade platinum, collect, collect, collect. A game like Warframe has been all about collection and not really about progression, not even on the top end. I played that game for 7 or 8 years, well, more than that. And at some point, you never get better. When was the last time your Warframe got stronger? Like genuinely stronger to tackle bigger, better enemies? Or are you just buying skins? Are you just getting new guns? Does the cycle go on and on? And it's not just Warframe. A lot of the games that failed kind of had those problems where they're just doing whatever it takes to keep you attached to the game, right? And I'm not just trying to beat up on Warframe. This isn't about Warframe. To me, this is about a lot of games. They just want to keep you in, and they're not really listening to the player base. So when someone says, hey, I want in-game, I want raids, they're going, well, only 1% of players play raids, so we're not really going to worry about that. Only 5% of players are interested in high-level enemies, so we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to do whatever it takes to get the most amount of people playing for the most amount of time. Does it make you happy? Maybe, maybe not, but the most amount of people are playing for the most amount of time for the maximum amount of profit. Now, if you think I'm just beating up on a game like Warframe, I'm going to extend it. I have about 4,000 hours in Apex. Now, I have a bunch of hours in other shooters again, games like Overwatch. The games I'm talking mostly about in this video are online games you play for a long period of time, and comparing it to PvP games. I noticed that these games hook you in. They start with what you would expect from a typical old school shooter, right? A game like Halo, super old school COD, right? Where these games had decent matchmaking, decent fun. You'd hop on with your friends. You'd have some good games. You'd have some bad games. It's whatever. You'd probably have some amazing moments, some breakout moments. You'd clip it for your friends. You'd share it. You'd be like, bro, I just pooped on this team, right? And you have those moments and you go back to life. Even though you enjoyed the game, that doesn't mean you played it for a long period of time, right? But now what I notice, and again, I have evidence I'm going to show you in a second, is what they do is they bait you in. And I've been paying real close attention to this. They'll bait you in, right? So you'll have a few fun games. You and your friends will get on, you'll win a game or two, in a few hours of playtime. You get a couple fun moments where 360 no scope on, some trash kid, whatever the lingo you gamer kids say nowadays. And you'd have some fun moments, but then things would flip. All of a sudden, you're in a lobby with some of the best players in the world. You're in a lobby with people who are insanely cracked at the game, and you start to get frustrated and you get off. Overwatch was the same thing as Apex. I noticed the first few games of Overwatch 2 were kind of okay, back and forth. And then the Giga Sweats came in, the game got harder. Enemy teams were more coordinated. And I was like, this is weird. It's almost like a drug deal. It's almost like I got a little taste of fun, and then it's trying to trick me into playing longer to chase the dopamine of the fun. Now, if you're saying I'm crazy, no, these game companies wouldn't dare bait you in with a good experience and then give you a bad experience to bait you to playing more to chase the dopamine of the better experience. Well, recently I just read a paper of a patent from Electronic Arts, EA, called Engagement Optimized Matchmaking. The E is for engagement. Remember, we talked about engagement over fun. These companies this is why I think video games suck now. These companies are going for engagement over fun. Essentially, the way this system works is it gauges what your chances are of you quitting. This is called churn rate percentage. And if you have a low percentage, or a high percentage of you quitting the game, going to do something else, essentially the game would give you more fun, right? It would give you teammates who are good at the game. It would give you maybe enemies that aren't that good at the game. But what if the person had a low churn rate, which is a low chance of them leaving the game. Think about it like this. You've done all your homework for the day, or you finished your job for the day. You're at home. You got 5 hours of gaming. It's a Friday. You don't go to the club like me, and you got plenty time to game, right? The game will say, wait a minute, this guy is queuing up fast. I think he's going to be on for about 5 hours. Last Friday, he was on for 5 hours. Let me give him bad matches, because I know I can give the good matches to someone else. Let me give him the most difficult crack. Let me put him in games with streamers. Let me put him in games with pro players. Let me take all the difficult, bad situations. Let me put him in high ping games, games where the connection isn't that good. And then I'll save the low ping games or the players who aren't that good to match with the person who I don't want to quit, who I think may leave the game. And to me, that is just pure evil. And I started to feel this type of game design slipping into games, these algorithms, the way things are calculated, slipping into the way games have been made. And only until now that I feel like, when people are asking, Mo, what happened to you? Why don't you game? It's because I've lost the passion. Now, recently, I have been trying to find the passion again. And I try to find it through games that don't have big publishers. I try to find it through indie games. I try to find it through early access games. I try to find it through the games who maybe don't have the influence of being from a company that's traded on the stock market. For instance, I've been playing this game Dark and Darker. You guys have probably seen it recently. And it's janky and it's early access. And to be honest with you, it's not that great, but it's a little bit of fun and it's refreshing, and it gives me hope that I can find enjoyment in games anymore. But for the most part, that is why, bro, I'm so glad you guys let me have this therapy session. I could pay for a therapist, or I could just upload this video. I'm not paying you guys. I am not paying you guys for this therapy session, if that's what you're thinking. But that's what I think. Will I continue to play games? I don't know. What's the future of this YouTube channel? I don't know. And maybe I'll look at how this video does, and it may decide the type of things we talked about in the future. And maybe I'll make that matchmaking video to respond to all the drama that was on Twitter. But to me, gamings have become so corporate. They've become so calculated. There's so many algorithms, and it has become too much about what it takes to keep you there and not about fun. It's not about our enjoyment. And it has really pushed me away from gaming in a big, big way. But I'm going to work on it. This 15-minute therapy session. How much you guys charge by the hour? I don't know.